There she is, the dog that thinks she's a duck. Yeah, you can't reach the tripod today, little one. Now, I'm going to put this camera a little far back so she doesn't tangle around the tripod. And let's get today's day going. That'll do it. Shit piles of water in the river right now. Holy! Now, I finally upgraded to a Hero 10 GoPro. Sucker goes underwater without having to have the case around it, and the audio is amazing. So it should up my game when it comes to underwater filming a fish, which I seem to love to do. And for all my other GoPros, when I was living in Whistler, where there was a lot of people with a lot of money and a lot of hardcore snowboarders and skiers and stuff, I'd go into the buy and sell and buy. That's how I bought my GoPros. I got them for dirt cheap from people that were just basically tossing them as they upgraded their own stuff. So, this is the first time I bought a brand new one. And all the other ones, I think I bought 3 GoPros that I've been using underwater for like $150, $200. And finally splurged and bought a new one, and it's made a huge difference. Holy cow, it's clear under the water. So I did bring my camera with me to toss it underwater, possibly. We haven't had too much luck behind me with steelhead filming underwater this time of year. It's only basically when the sockeye are coming up I've had fish on the camera in this run right here, but farther up at where the river narrows and gets into deeper pools, I finally found some steelhead on the camera a week ago. Maybe 5 of them. That's pretty cool. But anyway, the dog, she doesn't understand the dangers of water yet, and I brought her up there to that pool and let her off the leash for a bit, and it's basically a drop-off straight down, about 15 feet deep in the falls. And she almost went to launching into the river right there. I wouldn't have got her for about a quarter of a mile as the current ripped her away, and she doesn't get it yet. So look at her, she's right up to her neck right now. So I'll keep her on the leash. Easy. Shit, she's broken. River, come. Shit, now she's bolting away. Get some more voices heard. A quick note. As I'm trying to figure out how things work in life and how things have been working when it comes to many topics, but the use of these things and the internet and some of the absolute outrageous things been going on and promoted in society today are frickin' crazy. And I realize the only reason they are gaining traction and speed is because people keep talking about it publicly and voicing their opinions publicly and how crazy it is publicly. And then you get sucked right into promoting, and that's what's happening, and that is why so many of these absolute insane topics are coming up and getting light, getting attention, and getting bigger and affecting our communities as a whole. It's because people decide they need to get online and voice their opinion about it. But, the old golden rule is, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad attention, it's attention and it works. So, I'll bite my lip on what's going on in society today, which is a little ridiculous. And, but anyway, I just thought I'd pass it along, is what I'm realizing is, the more you talk about some outrageous topic and you want to stop talking about it. That's about the only way we can get these things to disappear. It's just like the people who are in control. You gotta just take your power away from it, right? Now, got some emails, important voices to be heard. We're gonna hear them. Listen to what we got here. I don't even know where I'm gonna start. What's this? These are fairly previous 30 days. Alright, it's the old phone, but I have newer emails on it because my other phone's hooped. Where should I go? Let's keep going down here. This is back in 2020 now. 2020. Alright, here we go. People that have been waiting, if not probably gave up hope being heard. Steve, I want to start by thanking you for all you do with regards to the topic of Bigfoot. You've changed my life and made me feel it's okay to talk about this again after 30 years. I briefly told you about my encounter over your YouTube channel, but thought I'd give you a bit more in detail. It was 1991. I was hunting California bighorns in the Alpine Mountains around Bridge, BC. I've had this area for years, but this trip was to be very different. I was a week into my 3-week hunt, and I had a nice little camp spot at the base of an alpine bowl just in the tree line at a creek. For a week, I felt right at home, as I always do in the wilderness, but one night after I ate my freeze-dried Salisbury steak dinner, a terrible feeling came over me. I felt very uneasy, and as though I was being watched. I never slept that night, as I was certain there was wolves, grizzly, or something near my camp. I spent the next day glassing an adjacent bowl for sheep, and as the afternoon came, I saw nothing, not even a deer, which was strange as hell for this area. As I was looking around at the bottom of the bowl, I noticed something move slightly, and thought immediately it was a grizzly by its color, shape, and size. It was about 300 yards from me, so I put my binoculars on it to take a look. Just as I got on it, it stood and knew, and I knew immediately what it was, and it was not a grizzly. The creature began to walk to the right towards the jack pines, taking 7 to 8 strides. I dropped my binos and grabbed my 300 Win Mag just out of instinct. I went prone and put the crosshairs directly on the creature. Its arms were swinging and its hands down almost to its knees. I could honestly see the muscles flexing as it walked. At first, it took my breath away. My heart was pounding so hard, my scope was jumping. Just before the creature reached the timber without stopping, it turned and looked directly at me. Not just in my direction, Steve, it looked right into my scope and into my eyes. The image of this creature's face and expression on its face is etched forever in my memory. It looked so old and weathered, dark, leathery, wrinkled skin, and its eyes deep in its head but clearly visible. Oddly, I felt no threat or fear at the time. It felt like the encounter lasted minutes, but I know it was literally seconds, and I was in the trees and gone. It was in the trees and gone. I'm 6'3" and 230. I guess this creature to have been around 7'6" easily, probably 400 pounds. Its shoulders had to be 4 feet across. His shoulders had to be 4 feet across, and the thickness of his chest 3 feet. Its muscle mass was incredible. I could see all its muscles flexing as it walked, much like a large bear or wolverine that are solid muscle. The creature knew I was there. I honestly believe it was watching me the entire time. 2 years later, within a few miles of this spot, I was deer hunting in late November and was hiking up a valley. Something screamed/roared at me that still sends shivers up my spine to this day. I was effing terrified. I turned around and ran/walked for 3 hours back to my truck. Hold on a minute. I turned around and ran/walked for 3 hours back to my truck and left. This bloody creature was pissed that I was there, and it warned me to F off right now, and trust me, I wasted no time. I've heard a bear's death roar. I've seen cougars scream, and that day, in that valley, I heard a Sasquatch screaming at me to get the hell out of its area. I only ever told a few people about my encounter until I found you in your channel. Most people laughed at me, except a native friend of mine who simply said you were lucky. Be careful out there. The other person I told was a friend who was a CO at the time, and I was shocked by his reaction of, "Oh yeah? Where'd you see him?" A CO is a conservation officer here in Canada, also known as a game warden in the US. Right there on the spot, I felt the need not to tell him the truth, so I made up a different area, far from where I actually was. I think this guy knew. A lot of them know they exist, they just won't admit it or tell us. Anyway, Steve, thanks again for all you do. You're making a difference in many lives. Keep up the good work. Keep it wild, and most of all, be safe. Okay, man, we did read this back then. I remember reading it, and Bridge is right in my old backyard, and it's right over the hill from Jeff's place. And I'm going to get a hold of you fairly soon, not right away, and see if you want to come to the shop and hang out in the cave, and we'll bullshit about all this stuff at my place in front of everybody if you want, all right? You know who you are. Now, that's interesting because I have spent a shit pile of time around there. I've trapped a lot of wolves around there. I've hunted around there. Mostly I did a lot of conservation work around there. And I haven't been bothered around that area, but I'll tell you what, I know of a pile of stuff that's gone on around that area. Bridge, British Columbia. We've had a handful of people email from that small town. I actually looked at possibly buying one of those old houses at the deserted gold mine in Braylorn, maybe. I want to share my story with you and my first and only encounter. Unfortunately, I'm not brave enough to have my name shared out there, so if you do decide to make a video on my story, please don't share my name. Gotcha. I was hunting coyotes on a new property for a landowner in town just outside Marietta, Ohio. I found a dried up beaver dam in the bottom of the holler and found lots of sign, so I decided to go back the next morning. So about an hour before daylight, I snuck down into that bottom and sat up waiting for daylight to start calling. Beaver dam was about 200 yards to my right. At daylight, something coming up the hillside towards the dam. It was big, dark in color, but I couldn't make out what it was. I'd read reports of bears starting to venture into the area, so I thought that might be what it was. Once it broke the clearing, I then knew it was not a bear. This massive creature broke the clearing and was walking around the edge of the dam, picking up stuff off the ground. I couldn't tell what it was grabbing, but it would walk a few feet, stop and pick something off the ground, and just continue to do it. I watched this creature for what felt like an eternity, but it was only about 2 or 3 minutes before it either caught my wind or felt my presence. Either way, it knew I was there. 2 to 3 minutes, time that one. That's a day. It made a break for the trees, head back up the hill into the briar thicket where it come from. Thinking back on it now, I should have tried to film it, but I was froze. I couldn't move my body. I knew what I was looking at, even though I couldn't believe it. I was so scared to move, not knowing what it would do or how it would react. I was only 20 years old when that encounter happened, and I haven't returned to the property since then. That has been roughly 7 years ago. I've never told that story before due to being too scared. Hold on a minute. I was so scared to move, not knowing what it would do or how it would react. I was only 20 years old when that encounter happened, and I haven't returned to the property since then. That's been roughly 7 years ago. I've never told that story before due to being scared of being ridiculed. I didn't want my hunting team criticized either. Until I started watching your show and realized I'm not as crazy as I may have thought. Sorry for the long email. I'd love for my story to be told, but again, I'd like to remain anonymous. Thank you for reading, and please continue to post your amazing videos. Have a wonderful day. You too, man. I'm glad you wrote it in. Get it off your chest. You're not crazy, obviously. And you probably know by now just how many people have seen these same wild, feral people types. It's a new way of putting it, isn't it? Okay. I don't think I've read this one. This is from way back in the day, too. Oh, maybe it's not. I don't know. We'll see. Just keep going. The dog's on fire. I think I've learned my lesson. If I'm going to be reading these emails, don't bring the dog. I either got to take the dog and have time with us, especially doing this. She's on fire being right around here. She just wants to go crazy. She's a puppy. Okay, settle down. All right? You gotta let me read here. Yeah. All right, listen to this. I sent an earlier experience to you when I was a Marine stationed at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, regarding at least 4 Bigfoot that scared the living shit out of myself and 4 other Marines while fishing on the backside of the base. We just read that. Now I'd like to tell you about another experience I had when hunting near Mount St. Helens, Washington after I got out of the service. Again, I wish to thank you before starting my encounter experience with you and for what you're doing to bring the facts to the light of day regarding Bigfoot and the people who are trying to keep this a secret or make people think if it is real, it is a harmless ape. The narrative is simply bullshit. Yes, it is. I know that it is not an ape. I want to share my experience with you and hope that you know for a fact that there are many of us who have experienced these beings that would like to help you in any way possible. It is important that you bring the truth out in the open where it belongs. And that's what you are doing, and me, and all of us. There are far too many people that go blindly into the woods thinking there is nothing out there. And if it is out there, that it is a big, furry, friendly creature that means them no harm. To that I say bullshit. So, for someone like you to step up and try to get the facts out there, that may keep someone safe. You're doing a great job, and we need your help in getting to the bottom of this conspiracy, or whatever it is that keeps these mindless, money-grubbing fake researchers going in circles like dogs chasing their tails. This experience happened to me in '78, shortly before Mount St. Helens blew its top. I was on the south side of the mountain where I had hunted for years before going into the service. This was my first trip back to do some elk hunting, and I was so excited to be back home and able to go hunting, which I love so much. My hunting partner was not able to go with me this trip, so I was going to make a solo trip, which I had done many times before. I knew the area very well and was prepared for what the area would present. I always take at least 3 days worth of provisions when hunting, as well as survival gear in the way of extra clothing, poncho, matches, fire starter, and other essential items in a backpack that I carry. I know that many do not take such precautions when hunting, but I do, because once while hunting, I got turned around so bad that I spent 3 days in the woods wishing I had something with me other than my gun, knife, and what I was wearing on my back. Yeah, it would suck. I find that the fog for me is what turns it right around. It doesn't matter if it's right in your own back 40 in the timber. As soon as the fog comes in the timber, you're in the timber, and you've got no other way of telling where the sun is, or the whatever you use to go by for travel, you're screwed. Fog in the timber. I don't know how you got turned around, but that's the only thing that's freaked me out is fog. Excuse me. On this trip, I was going to hunt a power transmission line right off. On this trip, I was going to hunt a power transmission line right of way that allowed me to park in the logging road and walk in about a mile to where I would sit on top of a ridge where I'd be able to watch both sides of a hogback on top of the ridge. It allowed me to be able to have a clear shot for over 400 yards in either direction. I'd taken several elk in the same location on various seasons over the years before entering the service. I walked in before light and reached the spot where I had intended to hunt before the sun came up. I was there all day and did not see a thing. This is highly unusual, as every other time I had chosen this location to hunt from, I always saw something. Deer, elk, even a black bear on several occasions. Maybe the things I would see on those hunting trips were not what I was looking to hunt for, but on this day, nothing seemed to be around, not even a rabbit. It was also quieter than I remembered. For some reason, I also had the feeling of being watched. I thought it was nothing. It was getting later, about an hour before dark, and close to when I should have to leave. I started to hear movement across the right-of-way in the woods. It was not the usual sounds you hear from an animal, more like someone walking in the woods. I thought that maybe someone else is hunting in this area and took careful note to be careful not to shoot in that direction should an elk walk out. I've never seen anyone else, but to me in this hunt, I've never seen anyone else but me in this hunting area before. I spent a lot of time gone. I had spent a lot of time gone while in the service. I thought maybe someone else had found this was a great location too. I continued to watch both sides of the hogback, but kept having that feeling I was being watched. Call it sixth sense or whatever, it was just a feeling I could not shake. I started to hear more movement in the woods across the right-of-way. And it sounded like it was someone walking towards me. I felt that as late as it was time to leave and walk back to my car. Knowing that someone was on the other side of the right-of-way and might shoot in my direction, when I got up to leave, I yelled over and said, "I'm coming out. For God's sakes, don't shoot me." More as a joke than anything. No one said anything, and there was no more movement from that direction. I once again yelled a little louder, "I'm coming out, please don't shoot." I got up, started walking towards the dirt road that ran down almost the center of the right-of-way and wandered back and forth between the transmission power lines. I thought it funny that whoever it was didn't call back to say that they had heard me and had said it was okay. Once I got to the dirt road, I started back to my car, thinking that whoever it was didn't want to make any noise to scare any animals, as it was not quite dark enough to stop hunting. But for me, I felt the urge to leave. I'm surprised you didn't automatically think it was another one of these beings after you'd had that experience previously, right? Or maybe this is sorry. As I moved down the road towards my car, the sound of the walking in the woods started again off to my right, just inside the tree line. I thought that maybe whoever it was had decided to walk out with me, but whoever it was did not come out of the woods, but just kept paralleling me. I stopped, they stopped. This was beginning to creep me out, so I asked them to come out where I could see them. There was no reply. I again in a louder voice said, "Enough's enough. No more games. Get your ass out here so I can see you." Again, there was no reply. I took my gun off my shoulder, jacked around in the chamber. Keeping the gun pointed in the direction of the area, I heard the walking, but with my safety on. I continued to walk to my car. When I walked, it walked. When I stopped, it stopped. As it was getting darker, I became worried. Maybe this was not a human, remembering my experience when I was in the Marines at Camp Lejeune. I began to think maybe this might be a Bigfoot. I was also aware that maybe there might be another one on the left side of me. I started to watch not only my right side, but the left as well, as watching closely my back trail. After all, I would rather be safe than sorry. I still had quite a ways to go to get to my car, and I knew it would be dark by the time I got there if I didn't hurry. So I started to jog back so I could possibly get there before it was totally dark. The thing to my right started keeping pace with me. I could hear breaking limbs, and what sounded like small trees as it kept pace with me. As at this time I knew it was no human being, and was almost sure it was a Bigfoot. I made it to my car without ever seeing what it was, but I wasted no time in putting things away neatly. I simply threw my things in the car and got out of there as fast as I could, even without seeing it. I can tell you it was not a bear, not a cougar, bobcat, or anything else that I've experienced in the woods. I cannot say it was for sure a Bigfoot, but I would bet all that I have it was. Needless to say, I've never hunted in that area again. No doubt. I want to thank you for reading my account, and I want everyone to know that they should be extra observant when in the woods as well as armed. And very careful when in or near the woods. I carry a 44 mag in a chest holster as well as my rifle, which is a 300 Win mag. I'm very proficient with either weapon. I forgot to mention I was a sniper when in the Marines during my tours in Vietnam, as well as a marksmanship instructor before going to Vietnam. I can hit just about anything that I can see, but in the case of Bigfoot, unless it was truly trying to hurt me or someone else with me, I don't think I could shoot one. The one I did see at Camp Lejeune looks far too much like a human to kill one. Not that I wouldn't shoot if it was necessary, just that I would not want to kill one, just to say that I did when they had done nothing wrong. It's just my personal thought, but I think that sometimes the Bigfoot creatures are a little too curious for their own good. Other times they just want you out of their territory and do whatever they can to get you to leave. Other times they may have their other intentions. That's why I'm always armed when in the woods. If they are human-like, there are good and bad humans, making me think maybe they are a lot like us. I don't trust easily, and I think that is how we should treat these creatures. Keep up the great work, Steve, and may you be successful in your endeavors. Feel free to use my name. Sincerely, Dennis Copeland, Milwaukee, Oregon. Dennis, absolutely appreciate the time you're taking, man. Appreciate it. I look forward to hearing from you again if you come across any more information for the people, man. Be safe out there. Mount St. Helens, I wonder if, side topic, I wonder if those are Roosevelt elk or those Rocky Mountain elk. I'm not even familiar with how far from the coast Mount St. Helens is, so I'm guessing they might be Rockies. I'm gonna nickname this dog Daffy. Daffy Duck. She's loving it. Let's keep going here. 300 Win mag. I prefer the 300 short mag to myself now. I used to have a 300 mag forever. I also have a 300 Ultra mag in the cabinet, but that thing's frickin' rocket launcher. I'm a true believer and a huge fan of yours. I'm watching your videos for a long time, and after hearing about all these people being attacked for coming forward, I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I'm a retired Army colonel with 31 years of active military service. During my career, I served in both infantry and special operations units. I've been an avid outdoorsman and hunter since I was 12 years old. I've probably spent more time in the woods in my life than all these BF blah blah buck munchers have combined. If it lives in the woods, I've probably seen it, heard it, smelled it, or eaten it.
That being said, I recently had an encounter while deer hunting with a close friend of mine, a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel that left us both rattled. My hunting partner and I served together in the Army, and we've hunted elk and deer together for almost 20 years. Neither of us had ever experienced anything like this before. On this day, we were hunting in a controlled access area on a military reservation in Virginia that is off limits to most civilians. Hunting areas are restricted to limit the amount of hunters into them at one time. There's usually monster bucks in areas like that and bulls. When we logged into the area, we're the only two hunters in it. This particular area is remote and is surrounded by nothing but thousands upon thousands of acres of hardwood, swamps, streams, and ponds. By the time we were done hunting and back of the truck, it was nearly pitch black. We were standing at the back of my truck loading up our gear when we heard a commotion in the woods where we had just been hunting. It sounded like someone or something running very fast towards us through the pitch black forest. Have fun? Okay, sit tight. The sound got closer and closer to us until I thought whatever it was running towards us was about to break out of the forest and into the open where we were standing, when suddenly it stopped. It got eerily quiet, and Rob and I were looking at each other like, what the F was that? We were both standing there frozen and looking into the blackness, waiting to hear or see whatever had made the noise, when suddenly we heard a loud scream come from where the sound of running had stopped. This scared the shit out of both of us. Whatever was screaming / yelling repeated it for another 5 or 6 times. Each time it got further and further away from us, like it was walking back the way it came. Then, when I thought it couldn't possibly get any scarier, I heard a whistle that sounded like whoever or whatever was whistling was still there on the edge of the woods and was looking right at us. Rob has hearing loss and couldn't hear the frequency of the whistle, but I sure as hell did. It whistled at us 5 or 6 more times, then stopped, and it got deathly quiet. I mean, there was no sounds at all. Rob and I quickly finished loading our gear, and then jumped in the truck and hauled us out of there. I went back the next day by myself to see what I could find, if I could find any tracks or signs, but found nothing. I spent the rest of the day hunting in the same area, hoping to find answers, but never did. I don't know what we heard, but neither of us have ever heard it before. I hope my story brings others to find the courage to come forward and share their experiences. Sincerely, Roger L., Colonel, United States, USA, retired. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for sending that in. I hope you didn't have to wait too long for me to get to it, but there's nothing I can do about it. And however long ago that was, 2020, I believe. If you come across any more knowledge since then or experiences, you know what to do, right? If you would. Email us back in again. I don't know why I keep looking up. Probably keep looking up because I'm hoping that some of the people that come down here, hike down here with their dogs off leash, don't come down when I'm down here with her. I need to be breaking up a dog fight with one on leash and one off, or 3 off. So that's why I keep looking up there. I'm not nervous at all. I don't feel any pressure here at all. Alright, who's next? My name is D.W. Devoyne. My last name is pronounced like Des Moines. When I was younger, I hunted with a bow. I'm self-taught in tracking and stalking. I'm going to reveal something about me I've tried to keep hidden all my life. I can make empathetic connection with some people and sometimes an animal. I grew up raising animals at 4-H, and we always had horses. I was also a bull rider in the PRCA until my son's birth. I was also a skeptic when it came to Bigfoot, believing that it was a hoax. That was until April of 1995, the 12th I think. I was 37 years old. I lived in the Antelope Valley area of Southern California, in Quartz Hill, California. I went up in the hills just above the aqueduct at about 80th Street West to pattern a shotgun to see if the sight was at the center of the shot pattern. When I pulled up, I knew something was very wrong. There was a spring up the draw in a scrub willow patch that was usually alive with birds, and I could not hear any birds. I've been accused of being a psychic, but I never have caught on to what people were thinking. It's more like an empathy, where I know or feel inside of me what they are feeling. There was something in the willows that was angry and very afraid. I tried to ignore the sensation, and I proceeded to check the pattern of the shotgun. It was sighted in, so I decided to check the willows. There was a tunnel into them that the desert deer, which gave the area its name, used to get water. They rarely develop antlers that are more than a fork horn, and the Spanish explorers saw them from a distance and mistook them for antelope. At about 10 yards, I bent down and saw the tunnel was blocked, and normally you could see right through it to the willows across the dirt road. The area was used by shooters on the weekends, and I'd been coming to this ravine and shooting there since I was 14 and got my first rifle. The road I came in on forked with one going downhill toward the tree I my sheet in. Toward the tree I had my sheet in, is probably what you meant, and the other fork going uphill and circling around through the scrub willow. Most people do not know that there is a small spring in the willows in the center of that circle. It runs in late winter and early spring, but usually dried up by May or June. There was definitely something in those willows. Since I had a mental connection with it, and only bird shot my shotgun, I decided to try to communicate with it. I spoke without saying anything and told the, I don't know what it is, it's okay, I don't want to hurt you, and I won't if you don't try to hurt me. And that feeling of fear and dread and anger eased a little. Now I got curious about what it could be, and although I didn't like my chances, I knew at zero distance from the muzzle, even bird shot is devastating. So I started slowly walking around the patch of willows. Then the feeling started fading when I was about 3/4 the way around. So I turned around and went back to the uphill side of that tunnel I mentioned before, and I could see all the way through it and see the tree where I was shooting at a bed sheet and my white pickup truck. When I straightened up, I saw something go up the side of the ravine in leaps. It was the color of a dark cougar. My first thought that it was one huge cougar. Then I had a second thought that cougars don't move like that. I wasn't going to believe what I saw until I had more proof. I went up the ravine and I had to friction climb up the same spot I had seen it go up in a series of 3 huge leaps on all fours. The tracks going up were indistinct, but the decaying granite side of the ravine has just been scuffed with great force. When I got near the top of the ridge, I found a human-like footprint on the game trail in the sage. It was going uphill toward thick chaparral and juniper, so I went downhill to my truck and got out of there. I didn't get a size estimate other than much larger than a full-grown man. As close as I could guess, it was within 5 inches plus or minus of 9 feet tall and about 4 feet across the shoulders with long arms. The muscles could be really seen flexing under the skin. The face was covered with hair, except around the eyes as far as I could tell. I had to get a good look at the front of it only from the side, and that was just for a few seconds. I'm not sure what sex it was either. My second encounter was very different. I'm in my 50s after my back became so painful I could not work or even walk long distances. I went back to school. I graduated for University of Idaho in 2007. I got shown some places to go hunting on Moscow Mountain. And in 2009 I was hunting elk on the east peak of Moscow Mountain, which is really a ridge near the start of Big Meadow Creek. I started before daylight, and my system was walk a quarter to half a mile, rest, then get up and go again. I started hearing what sounded like people talking just on the edge of my hearing, and there were no words I could make out. It was just a fast-paced chattering that sounded more like human speech. Also, the forest was silent. Not even the occasional squirrel chattering at my approach. No game, no sign, nothing. I sat down to rest my back to the discard pile at an old logging deck, and that was when the rock started. What are you seeing?
You good? Maybe I should start growling. They were all fist size or bigger, and I heard the first one hit and roll down the hill. I was looking at where it came from when I saw the second one, and it was definitely thrown in a high arc from uphill somewhere. You know that empathic connection I told you about in the first encounter? It was back, but I didn't sense fear. I sensed a predatory intent. It was the same feeling I got when looking across a room in a bar or dance hall when I knew somebody looking for trouble was coming my way. That warning saved my bacon more than once, but every time I started studying the bushes on the sides of the creek bed I was following, another rock would get thrown. I could sense about 3 individuals. One was throwing rocks and 2 more were trying to encircle me. I was being hunted. I wasn't scared so much as that same feeling I got when getting on a bull took a hold of me. An awareness of danger and that willingness to rise to the change of a fight. I mean the challenge of a fight. I almost forgot I had a rifle. I didn't see anything except a branch moving contrary to the wind, or a patch of dark brown or black fur on the edges of my vision. This is the type of thing that if you're not looking for it, you don't notice. I used the mental connection I had to locate, then shoot a tree in front of the closest one. She was coming into my left. One more rock was thrown, then the feelings just gradually faded away. I sat there because you can't come up. You're not tiny anymore, you goofball. She was coming in. Okay, sorry. One more rock was thrown, then the feelings just gradually faded away. I sat there because my back was protected by a pile of old rotting logs until the squirrels and chipmunks started coming out and the normal sounds of forest returned. I didn't get an elk that day, but I didn't have a plan to get it down off the mountain either. So maybe it was a good thing I did. What are you doing? You trying to climb up on the bar? Are you? Nope, not on me. Not on me, you soggy doggy. I know, you want to go home. Alright, we're going to go on a bit. That is my story. If I live to be 100, I never want to run into one again. No. Oh, okay, get down. Get down. That's my story. And if I live to be 100, I never want to run into one again. I still live in Idaho, and we do have sightings in the area from time to time. I still hunt in the fall and go fishing. I don't know what they are, and I don't know what they are, and I do not care as long as I don't see one again. But they felt like when I connected with and read a human rather than an animal. I want to tell you not to use my name, but I'll leave it at your discretion. Oh my God. Sorry, you guys. You can't get mad. How do you get mad at this? Look at. I want to tell you not to use my name, but I'll leave it at your discretion. You can do what you will with the information. One of the reasons I hide my ability to do that is I am a deeply religious man. It isn't accepted very well at the church I attend. And I know I'm no psychic, and I know I don't want to be one or be called one. What are you doing? Alright. Well, I hope you get emails again, man. I'm quite certain with the skills that you have, that you probably had a handful of more experiences in this lifetime that most of us wouldn't be familiar with, right? I'd like to hear more about them for sure. What are you doing? Huh? We weren't going to be that long. She hasn't had breakfast yet, so I'm sure she wants to get home and eat, right? She wants my seat. Yeah, wants more seat? How's that? Sit. Sit. Goofy dog. I don't think you're going to get comfy up there. Yeah. Okay, listen. Don't jump. I don't know where your rope is. Alright, hold on a minute, you guys. I can't go yet. I still want to get some more done up. I can't get a tether to that log and make her lay down just for a minute. Learn some patience. Alright?
You gonna be good like that? You gonna sit? That's a slack, so you can hang yourself to jump off while I'm reading. Anyway, sorry guys. But on a serious note to you, sir, from what you know, what you're tuned in with, I'd like to hear more. If you could email me more of your skills and what you do with them, and how in tune you are with them. Can you control it? Can you focus it? Can you direct it? You know what I mean? And, I'd like to learn about that. I'm sure a bunch of others would too. Here. You want to see? Sit down. Sit down. Sit. Is it gonna work? There we go. All right. You won. You got my seat. You got me covered in wet sand. Okay. Let me read one more and then we'll go, right? Alright. Okay, you stay there and I'll take the front of the quote, right? Hang on. First of all, thank you for taking the time to share the encounters of real witnesses to this phenomenon. I live in upstate New York. I'm 62 years old. I've been hunting and fishing since I was a kid with my dad. I had my encounter when I was 14 years old. I went with my parents to my grandparents' house on a midsummer Sunday afternoon. My dad and I would always take the time to walk back to a reservoir behind the house, about a 20-minute walk through the woods to go fishing. The reservoir is a freshwater supply for the local area and was patrolled by econ. We read it. We read that one. Hello, Steve. My name is Miles J. MJ Akula. I haven't been into the Bigfoot phenomenon ever. I honestly used to laugh at it. I think people just got a little too high in the woods, or, as what a lot of people think, a case of misidentifying something like a bear. Needless to say, I feel like an absolute idiot after what I saw. I joined the USMC back in 2016 right out of high school. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and I've had very little to basically no outdoors experience aside from what I've learned from the Marine Corps. I unfortunately haven't had the honor of being deployed to a combat zone yet, but I've gotten to experience and see some awesome places and meet incredible people. This past October, 12 guys from my platoon got tasked with doing a survival training course in California at the Mountain Warfare Training Center near Bridgeport, California in Mono County. We had to go due to the fact that Marines brought over some guy from the UK, Poland, and Mexico to go through the course, and I guess they needed guys to cross-train with them. To be honest, I was pissed though, almost the entire time, because I already had to go through SEER school, Survival, Evasion, Renitence, and Escape. While a bunch of the other guys got to go to Little Creek, Virginia to train, which basically meant to go party with the Navy guys over there. So, needless to say, all of us had our own shitty attitudes going. When we got there, we did about a 5-day course on some basic survival stuff, nothing too different from what we all learned at SEER. After those 5 days, we were simulating some war games with the new survival techniques we learned that was a part of this game the instructors designed. Basically, last team to be found wins. We all got split up on our own teams, helicoptered out, and basically had to hide and last as long as we could and not be found by the instructors and some other guys that we were a part of another course that we were supposed to be using their techniques to find people. We all thought we were pretty hardcore after a while, knowing that our little team was only one of 2 teams left, as a helo flew overhead with a giant megaphone calling out our team's number and another team's number, as well adding to our egos, knowing that the other team had some UK SBS guys in it. Basically the Brits Navy SEALs. Everyone knew that team's number, because we were all fangirling over these guys, haha. So, we were hot shit at that point, or so we thought. We thought we were doing good until we thought we got caught by one of the instructors in a ghillie suit. As we got to the bottom of this mountain, we just got done climbing up and over. As we went down near a creek toward the instructor in the ghillie suit, one of my buddies shouted something like, "Well, F, we thought we had a chance. Should we head back, sir?" After all, we all assumed we got caught and just wanted to shower after being in the cold mountain air and mud for the past 14 or so hours. It was then that this guy we thought was in a ghillie suit stood up and turned and looked at us for a solid 5 or so seconds, and then started trotting up the mountain that had just took us about 4 hours to get up and over. That thing went over in about 5 minutes, coming in and out of sight. Hey, easy. All right, thought she's gonna come to the end of her rope and jerk herself. That mountain that it just took us about 4 hours to get up and over, that thing went over it in about 5 minutes, coming in and out of sight. At that moment, I at least knew what we all had saw, and my buddy and some other guys on my team must have knew as well from the looks we all had on our faces. As we were in absolute shock, one of the Marines that was from Mexico said, I'm gonna put my glasses on. See, I just get so distracted with something else going on. One of the Marines that was from Mexico said, I don't know about you guys, I didn't know you guys had monkeys here, which we all nervously laughed our asses off, as being stunned and somewhat terrified as we were. Needless to say, I've been a believer ever since. And I used to think people were idiots who thought Bigfoot was real. I felt we all basically wanted to be found at that point, and at least at this point I didn't give an F about beating some SBS guys. I just wanted to get the hell out of the woods. After being found, none of us said anything. Still to this day, my buddy David and I are the only ones out of the other 3 guys in my platoon that were with us never bring it up. That night we discussed it a little, but really didn't carry on too much as we got interrupted by some ambush fire coming at our base. So we all had to go survive the night out in the woods in order to not be found by the, quote, Chinese, end quote. That night sucked. I didn't ever think about sleeping. No doubt. No doubt. I'll never be able to forget that day, as everything I thought I knew was real or fake completely turned upside down. I remember how nervous I felt too. Not because we all had blanks, but because I still don't think we would have had a chance, even if we were ready to smoke something. It was insanely massive. I don't want to estimate some BS size, but Steve, it was effing massive. I've been on a Bigfoot binge ever since, and I've realized how much bullshit was out there, and it doesn't surprise me why I never bought into the phenomenon, let alone the rest of the world. When I come across your channel, I was at the point of pretty much giving up hope on finding legit people who had real answers. I remember even seeing your video titled My First Experience or something to that extent on my recommendations for about a week before I accidentally clicked on it. I thought, what the hell? Let's just say I'm glad I found your page. I'm glad you cut out all the bullshit. You don't try to feed people bullshit, you just tell people what you know and what people have told you. I've watched a bunch of your videos and I love the hunting stories as well. Get down on one knee before firing at a bear and you'll likely miss standing up due to underestimating the speed. End quote. Quite possibly some of the greatest survival advice I've ever heard. Thank you again and good luck with your adventures. I'm jealous of the lifestyle you're living. It's given me some ideas on what I want to do when I'm out. Thank you again, MJ Akula. Dude, thank you so much for sending that. I'm so glad you came across the channel. Because you know what? The channel's not promoted in any way. I know a bunch of you out there share it and talk about it publicly, but I don't promote it ever. Not once. I don't even put it on my social media pages that I used to have time for. All the Facebook pages and hunting pages, I just don't promote it. I figure I don't think you can push this topic on people that don't have any interest in it at all. You can't. So, I don't. But I know that the people who see and realize they are possibly, hopefully, and seem to be intelligent enough to know they got to start doing some digging and wading through the bullshit if they want to get some true facts or find the people who know what's going on, right? And here we are.
Here we are, all almost 300,000 subscribers alone just on this channel, and the majority of people that watch the channel aren't subscribed, that's for sure. Here we are. Anyway, I'm gonna throw this GoPro in the river behind me. Just once, and see how it works, and then I will maybe I'll put the video clip from this one cast at the end of the video here today. I had some thoughts actually this morning. I usually share my babble at the beginning of the video, but one thing I'm curious about is in life what's going on today with there's a lot of governments killing people around the planet right now, a lot. And I always wonder why, especially when it comes to weapons of warfare. And I found myself this morning being curious, wondering why that when governments go at war with each other, the people in power go at war with each other, they don't kill each other. I don't get that part. Instead they kill thousands of us, thousands of the people, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of the people die instead. But I honestly don't understand why the culprits, the dirty bastards that cause the wars, how come they're never ever targeted or taken out by their enemies? Only tens of thousands of the people. I just don't understand that part. It's confusing for me. Even when it comes to say the terrorist attacks. Well, the terrorists, they never target the people that are actually causing the problems. They target us, the innocent people just trying to live and rock it out. Why is that? You ever wonder that? I think it's the first time I ever wondered this morning. It's kind of funny, isn't it? That the people who promote, and fund wars, they never go after the culprit on the other side. They just kill the people. The terrorists just kill the people and not the culprits that cause all the grief they're pissed at. Even our shooters, even the people that go out and shoot the shit out of people. How come they're not going after the politicians, the people that are causing all the grief? I don't get it. Why is it always the people that get whacked? Do you see what I'm getting at? It's kind of confusing, isn't it? Anyways, it's just one thought that I've had recently that I thought I'd share with everybody. I know it's a little off topic, but whatever. Yeah. I get it, the dog's hungry. She wants to go home, but she's gonna have to hang out just for another 5 minutes so I can get one cast in with the camera and close this video with that clip, and we'll see what's floating around down there and what the audio sounds like on the new camera, how clear it is. Hey, bub? Don't you go trying to chase this as I cast it out. It's kind of weird. It felt weird throwing down a camera like this. It's kind of expensive. It's like $500. Felt kind of weird throwing it in the water first time without the protective container around it. Technology keeps coming, keeps moving forward, doesn't it? Watch, this will be the day my line breaks again, then I gotta hope it snags up in the willows and I find it again in the summer. If not, check my knots. Deep water, so I'll angle it down a little bit steep. And I'll make these a little deeper so we can hopefully see everything clear to the bottom. Alright. Hopefully there's something on here for everybody to see, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to you guys tomorrow, share some more voices tomorrow. Here we go.